Hi guys, Olaoluwa here, and you're listening to the Niger Which Way podcast. I hope you enjoyed the episode.
Okay, guys. Hey. It's Imi here. Who else have we got in the studio today?
Laulu.
We've got Oyin in the studio.
Emmanuel.
Wonderful. Welcome, guys. How you guys doing?
I'm doing
We
good.
are good. It is 7:35 p.m.
Or AM. It depends when people want to listen.
But it's basically been a long time coming. We're glad that we're here and recording and talking to you.
And sharing some good news.
It's the Niger Which Way podcast. This is our first episode. And of course, if you're listening, you can also join the extended conversation on our Instagram, on Twitter, of course, on our Wednesday conversations on Clubhouse. And definitely, if you're interested, you can join the Telegram community where we have further discussions, and you can check that on the website. So today, we're just going to be talking a little bit about the story so far. And Oyin's introduced herself, and I'd love you, Oyin, if you could please just tell us about the story of Niger Which Way. How did it come to be, and how did it come to be like this?
So once upon a time, I'm joking. No, this podcast started off as a spin out of the NSARS West Midlands protest group. As some of you don't know, NSAR stands for the Special Anti-Robbery Squad. Essentially, instead of those groups of people to protect the nation, the opposite was being done, and so that kind of breeded a host of protests across the world. So NSAR's WM was kind of well attended. We had about 3 protests, and then from that point we wanted to have more sustainable solutions to help the nation of Nigeria. So we came about because we really want to be able to galvanize conversations about ending bad governance, ending bad governance, and promoting active citizenship in Nigeria. So we're a group of diasporans who are passionate about Nigeria and passionate about anything to do with Nigeria. And so I'm really excited for the host of different types of conversations we're going to have on this podcast. So we know no bounds, anything to do with Nigeria, we're going to talk about it.
Solid. Now, thank you so much. And in this episode, what we're going to do, as I previously kind of alluded to, every Wednesday we've been having conversations on Clubhouse about a variety of topics. And we're going to give you a few of those topics today. We're just going to talk briefly through them, so you have a little bit of a taste, a little bit of a flavor as to what we've been discussing and what we've been considering, throughout our time together. So, and Laulu, I'd love it if you could start with this. Could you give us a little bit of a recap about our conversation around youth unemployment?
So it was a very interesting conversation. I believe, I'm going to guess her name because I don't remember. Can anyone remind me of?
It was Elaine Japito.
Yes, Elaine. Elaine came on, and I think one of the most significant things about that conversation was finding out that majority of Nigeria's population are actually under age 25 or something around that. Yep. And I thought that was
18.6 years old.
Right. That's the average age of the average Nigerian, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that was scary and also exciting. Nigeria loves to talk about its youth, but I think the conversation just shone a lot of light on the absence of empowerment to the generation that is constantly growing. Nigeria's population is over 3 times the size of francophone countries in Africa, and it's detrimental if we don't invest in the futures of people who are 18.5, younger than 25.
Solid, solid, solid. And just in fact, talking about it today, obviously, we're in the UK right now, and I think, how would you, from that conversation and from your understanding, how would you compare our understanding of unemployment here and youth unemployment here to youth unemployment in Nigeria?
I think the massive difference is that in the UK, from what I understand, in the UK there is infrastructure that is built on to empower young people who are not in employment. There are ways in which the government is also aiding and supporting people who do not have employment. And also right now, something that Oyi and I both work within as far as our business that we own is that we know that the government is investing millions into giving young people the right skill sets, upskilling the youth. And we can definitely see a gap between what is happening here and back home. I think oftentimes the unequal spread of resources has meant that the young people, the people in schools, the people in education systems are the ones that are suffering. They're learning the same things. I have a friend who I was talking to. He was saying that he studied property investment. His father studied the same thing. They learned the exact same thing in university, and there's almost 40 years between them. So that's very telling of the sort of country and the sort of education, what the education's, the quality of youth that it's pushing out into a workforce that isn't actually ready for them and hasn't empowered them to be able to work. I mean, what did you guys think about the conversation?
Unemployment is not really something that I think about very often. But one thing I can say that conversation helped to do for me was to make me aware of the real situation in Nigeria and why unemployment in itself is a problem. Because we, like you said, we have a high population of young people in Nigeria, and when so many young people have nothing to do, then there's going to be trouble. And having Elaine as well speak was good because she talked about why it's a problem. She talked about what she's doing with her organization. We can put the link to her organization in the description if we have one.
Yeah, we will do
after this is released. So that's what really stood out for me. Coming to terms with why unemployment is a problem, because I think it's very easy to hear something talked about very often and kind of hear it so much that you become used to it without coming to terms with what the reality actually looks like. So, Oyin, is there anything else you'd like to add to what I just said?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of youth unemployment, what I've always found really interesting about Nigeria, the case of Nigeria is, not many countries can tell you that they have a young population, and you look at the trajectory of how we're going to grow as a population. I think right now there's about 180 million people in the nation, and that's going to keep growing and growing and growing. So that in itself has a massive opportunity for economic progress. But what we found is that we've not been able to kind of harness that. And so that's why before we can talk about employment or unemployment, we have to talk about upskilling and giving people the tools to be able to get out of that unemployment as well. I was speaking to a guy actually today who's basically trying to build a platform. His name is Ezi, trying to build a platform that basically connects people in diaspora to people in Nigeria to be able to do business together and to facilitate investment, stuff essentially. And he was talking about how he's trying to offer a marketing manager job in Nigeria to someone, but he couldn't find the right someone that had the right skills. So before we talk about unemployment, we have to talk about upskilling people in those areas that we want to fulfill unemployment. I wouldn't want to go in depth about, where do we focus on upskilling, right? Because I think that's a podcast for another day. But we have to really think about what are the areas that Nigeria needs to upskill its citizens, essentially. So,
and I think another one of those areas, like, I know I wasn't present for this chat, but you were there in terms of talking about Nigeria's reliance on oil.
Okay.
Yeah. What about that one? I missed that one. So could you give us a little bit of a recap on that?
Yeah. So obviously, when we speak about Nigerians' reliance on oil, when you look at the economy of Nigeria, you look at the comparative advantage wheel. If you just go on a site called,
jargon break.
that's what I was. That is what I was
Help
going
us
to
to
explain.
understand, though, please. For the ones that don't understand.
So the comparative, okay, so guys, they're coming from me because I'm trying to be an economist. And I am.
Because I've used the smart one.
But yeah, anyway, so the comparative advantage wheel is just a wheel that's used to understand the diversification and the economic advantage, resource advantage in comparison to different countries, essentially. And you can find this wheel on a website called UNCTAD, so UNCTAD, UNCTAD. And so this is normally used by economists to understand how to facilitate trade within nations. So, for example, on the Nigerian's comparative advantage wheel, oil was like the only thing I could see as a dominant thing that was really boosting the economy. But you now compare it with countries like China or the UK, you see that there's lots of other resources that we're using to champion what's it called, our economy. Now, it always bothers me because we have oil. Yes, that's great. Clap for yourselves, Nigeria.
Wow.
But, we have other resources. We've got other different types of resources, raw materials. We've got limestone,
Tourism.
like so much opportunity for tourism. We've got
Agriculture.
Agriculture. Thank you. We've got all the raw materials that you can ever think of to make an economy run properly. So it's so important that as a nation that we're not just fixated upon thinking about oil on its own. We've got to think about how can we galvanize those resources, because not everyone's interested in oil. And actually, from that conversation, what we spoke about heavily was the move away from oil. The move away from crude oil. The world is moving to more sustainable, renewable energy and renewable resources. So we have to actually start to kind of think beyond oil, because as we saw with coronavirus, all prices crashed. And what does that mean? It means that our economy is relying on that. It means that, in turn, causes unemployment within the population. So it's really, really important that we look at other resources as well. But yeah, I'm gonna stop talking now.
No,
but
we're gonna need you to talk as well. I think, in terms of thinking about all of these things, and you're talking about reliance on oil, obviously we can talk about Nigeria as a state, and we can talk about Nigeria as individuals. We've mentioned the average Nigeria just now, talking about youth unemployment, but in terms of many of these social issues, if we're talking about social issues now, and we're talking about how they affect the average person, I think one of them that I've enjoyed, that we have considered, is the one of house helps and modern slavery. There's like loads of research that has been done on that, and how it's pervasive in our culture, and especially when we're talking about children used as house helps as well, and just examining that. I think that's something that I couldn't get away from thinking about after it was done, and the conversation. I don't know. Help me out, guys. Like, I remember, us starting out by talking just generally about this concept of how in societies they've, you know, even in the UK, for example, that's where we're speaking from, so I'm going to bring it up as an example. Even in the UK, they've had a history of child labor, and linking it to Nigeria in a way, you know, a country that is what 60 years old, right? Is it 60 years old?
Yeah, no,
60,
so 61 or 62?
61.
61, yeah.
I can't count. That is 60.
You people are getting Nigerian passports revoked.
61 people. We're 61 years old.
But it's 2021 this year, so it doesn't turn 61 this year.
Oh, yes, sorry.
It's 60 years old,
Yeah, we'll
guys.
be 60.
Come on.
Wow.
Yeah, we are
Oh.
60. Oh, my
That's
goodness.
But
embarrassing.
you know what?
Nigeria is very young.
You know what?
We're actually a very young
Very, very
nation.
young.
Just gonna say very quickly now, we're gonna plug something at the end of this episode, where we're gonna be challenging ourselves in our knowledge of Nigeria. So stick around if you want to hear what that is. But yeah, so Nigeria is a young country, 60 years old, you know, and it's at a stage of development where obviously we still see children being used for labor, and it's being treated as a very modern thing, especially when you put it at the intersection of almost social care in terms of children being adopted simply to be used for work, and especially if you want to talk about education as well. And these kind of things. So it's like, cool, we can talk about something like oil and talk about how that affects economics and macroeconomics and everything at a wider scale in Nigerian society. But I think one of the things that I've benefited from, and one of the things that I've loved about our conversations on Clubhouse, is that it's that balance between discussing the big things. And, you know, I don't know, you guys remember that we've had a couple professors on and stuff, and they'll really come with the big facts, you know, and then we'll be able to discuss these things. And, you know, people have personal stories about house helps, and I'd love it if anybody can share any of their personal stories right now, to be honest. Like, let's give them a taste of, you know, kind of things we've been considering.
Sorry, just to add to what Imi just said, one thing that I have enjoyed from Clubhouse is hearing Nigerians everywhere that we don't know come on and talk about their own experiences. And through that, we get to learn so much about Nigeria. And I think with every single episode, we learn something new. So to answer your question about experiences with house helps in Nigeria, I actually grew up with, I've had a few, my household, we've had a few house helps in the past. We don't have any anymore, thankfully. And I think I talked about this in the Clubhouse discussion. My what I noticed growing up was that it was something that was so normal to everyone in our society, in our city, the idea of having a house help. And because it was so normal, most people didn't think to challenge it. And a lot of people thought that if you buy clothes for your house help and if you send your house help to school, then it's fine. And it's interesting because the families of these people often saw it as, in a way, some kind of prospect, an opportunity to get a better future, because all house helps come from disadvantaged backgrounds. I don't know any rich house help in Nigeria. I don't think.
No, that's it.
I don't think we have one. So that's what stood out for me, really.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting, actually, what you've mentioned about. I think it's important to have domestic. I think you're alluding to that. It's important for us to still be able to monetize domestic support in the home and domestic help. But I think it's just the lack of regulation of that in Nigeria, or people disagreed about regulation as well to an extent. But, you know, people said, you know, if you try and make regulation a thing in Nigeria, you know, people will do it the wrong way, blah blah blah. But I think it's so important that we have an understanding of what that looks like. I would definitely listen, even in the UK here, I'm considering having someone look after my house because I literally don't think I'm
Yeah,
going
but
to
you're not going to
continue to
employ a
have.
child, are you?
No, of course not. Like, of course not. I'm not going to take part in child labor.
I was about to say.
No, but but that's obviously the problem in Nigeria, right? You don't even know, most times you don't know how old your house helps are. You know, they might tell you an age, but you're not even sure if that's the correct age because they don't have a birth certificate, or if they have one, it's a fake one, right? But I think that there should be kind of systems in place and also really correct ways of making sure that if you're going to get domestic support, which I think people should be able to do, it's very much regulated and it shouldn't be as easy to delve into. Everybody has the luxury, everybody that can afford it.
But that was one of the things that we talked about on the Clubhouse. It's like we said it on the Clubhouse conversation. So many efforts have been made to, create a register of house helps and, improve the kind of social care system and that kind of stuff. But the sustainability of these schemes and of these measures is a really big issue. We've got laws and everything about it. So are you not going to think of the sustainability? It's all well and good to say we need, but we have to think about what's been done before, no?
So it's not just about having rules and regulations to just make sure that your house helps are compliant. Especially in an environment like Nigeria where people are super fed up of the rules and regulations anyway, that don't necessarily serve them. So anytime we're bringing in something into a system, we have to make sure that we are trying to serve the people, right? And it's got to be a double-edged sword. So, for example, for the house helps, he's got to serve the house helps to make sure that they are registered, and he's also got to serve the people that are demanding that service as well. So why can't the government put stuff like rewards in place or tax? Well, if we talk about tax,
it's because they're only concerned with rewarding themselves.
Exactly. No? I mean, that's exactly what we're talking about, right? So if we're going to build a sustainable thing like that, we have to think about building a sustainable system and some sustainable institutions. I actually wrote my dissertation about the links between sustainable institutions and the diversification of the Nigerian economy, and therefore, like stifling growth or reducing growth. And I found out that because we lack institutions, it's actually causing our economy to not thrive as much. So we've got to come out of archaic ways of doing things and look forward.
Okay, but you keep saying we. I think, Emmanuel, this is something you like to say. Like, what?
I was going to say,
what are we going to do?
One of the solutions that was actually raised in the conversation was just this idea of like that no matter how much people don't rate the government, there needs to be a level of regulation that comes from the government, whether it's through law enforcement and reprimanding people who hire young children as house helps. But I think there was a lot of talk about mainly having these agencies that recruit people or whatever it is, having them work alongside regulatory bodies that would help to just kind of balance things out and thin out the kind of children. But ultimately, the issue is that a lot of people who want house helps can't afford them. And so the cycle continues to be perpetuated by the people who are hiring young children are able to do that because they're paying their parents a certain amount in the village, but they can't actually afford to sustain like an actual house help that would be able to live comfortably on a certain income because they can't afford it. So I just think that's interesting.
And this is where it comes back to. This is where it comes back to like thinking about the government stuff, right? Because if we're talking about house helps now, who uses them? Mainly elder women and younger women who may have just started
big families
children
too.
or whatever.
Big families
Pardon?
too.
Big families too. And so you've got to think, what kind of support should be made available You know, is it maternity leave? Is it, you know, a kind of social system, you know, where communities can, you know, assist each other, help each other, or, you know, you've got people that are paid, you know, and for these services, if we're talking about cleaners, etc., etc. So it's not just like a house help thing. So in terms of thinking about government, I just wanted to say, if you're listening to this and you're able to and you can, get your PVC. Get your PVC.
Get your PVC.
Because some of these people need to be get it.
Get your
Some of these people need to be switched out.
Get your PVC.
Get your PVC. Get your
Yo,
PVC.
Get
Okay,
your
it's enough.
Get your
Oh,
PVC.
all of you are wild. Okay.
Get it,
I just
get
want to
it,
say
get it,
something
get
very.
it, get it, get it,
Oyin
get it,
has actually.
get it, 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 get it.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
All right, thank you. Listeners, we want to thank you for indulging us in our little singing break. I just want to let all of you know that Oyin specifically has been really tired. And so we had a Zoom call before this, and she just kept singing. And so I just kept muting her. But you can't mute Anchor, so it's okay. But yeah, I just wanted to move on to really just discuss a little bit about the final, you know, I think it was one of the best attended Clubhouse conversations we've had. And that was the question of, you know, what does it mean to be a Nigerian in diaspora? Emmanuel, take us through it.
Wow. I don't know where to start from with this. Just like you said.
Start from the beginning.
Start from the beginning. There is no
In the
beginning.
beginning.
Just like you said, it was one of the most attended, and we had, I think it was mainly attended actually by Nigerians in diaspora, obviously, but there were a few Nigerians in Nigeria as well, and this was actually hosted by Imi, and I remember there were questions asked about how connected Nigerians in diaspora feel to Nigeria, and how Nigerians in diaspora feel as well. And there was a lot of discussion about personal accents and how, because a lot of Nigerians live in Nigeria, they don't have the Nigerian accent, and we talked about the popular inability to speak local dialects and languages, and I think I sensed some kind of disconnection between a lot of Nigerians in diaspora and Nigeria, and Nigerians in Nigeria as well. But this disconnection was kind of bridged because of the NSAS protest. So a lot of people talked about how they felt more Nigerian than they've ever felt before, and they felt more passionate and more concerned due to the protest, and in a way, for a lot of people, this protest was a way to learn about Nigerian culture, values, and care about Nigeria, and dedicate their time to Nigeria. So that's what I gained. That's what I gained. So wait, who hasn't said anything? Loudly.
Yeah, no, I love that conversation. But yeah, loudly, go for it.
Loudly jump in.
I never really have a very succinct answer to this. Also, that I have a different answer each time I answer this question, because I'm still exploring what that looks like. But I would definitely say that being a Nigerian in diaspora is firstly being Moji and Lanre's child, and it is learning from them, their history, their experiences, and now using that to rightly navigate what's happening in the culture in Nigeria right now. Is like being married to history without and divorcing the bad stuff, I would say.
Yeah, lovely. that was brilliant. I think that sums up a lot of people's opinions on this matter as well. But we're coming to the end of this episode.
It's the
but just before we
end of
do,
the episode. Oh yeah.
Okay, these guys keep singing.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
The end of the world.
Okay, wonderful. These guys keep singing. Okay, just before we come to the end of the episode, what we have for you
Number
are a
one
few
is
plugs and a
if
few
you are
shout
not
outs.
part of the Niger Which Way Clubhouse group, you need to follow. What are you doing? iPhone users, especially because we know you Android guys, sorry, you're not there yet. It's coming. God will do it. But you need to follow us, join the club, invite your friends, and you will get updates whenever there is a conversation happening. And you can also start them yourself. You can schedule a few and just come through and have a really great conversation with us. It's all a part of what we're trying to do.
You can also follow us on social media. So follow us on Niger_WW. So that's 9JA_WW on Instagram and Twitter. We've also got our website. So if you go on NigerWhичWay.com, 9JA_whichway.com, and you're going to get to see all the glorious things that we do on the socials.
We also have a group on Telegram. So it's pretty much a community group.
Telegram.
And
Did you say Telegram?
Telegram. Such a
We don't do WhatsApp
platform.
in this space.
Let's go.
So we have a community group on Telegram. And if you're interested in joining us, check out our website, nigerwhичway.com, and click on the link that says join our Telegram group. And that way you'll be able to connect with us and vote on several topics and subjects, and give us suggestions as well if you have any, and any other ideas that you have.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. But wait, there is one more special announcement. Drum roll, please. Nice. Stop. Amen. So basically, we're working with an initiative called My Voice, My Future, which is founded and run by the amazing Ife Ceremony. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be offering in the future a few civic education workshops for people in diaspora that want to learn a little bit more about Nigeria. I mentioned it earlier in the chat. Obviously, each of us will say that whether we were born there or whether we were raised here and have visited, that we all need to learn more about back home. We're not living there directly, so all of the issues really do not directly affect us, even if they directly affect family. So we on the Niger Which Way team are going to be going through the workshop. We're going to be learning, and we're going to open up the opportunity later on for you guys to learn as well. So that's our special announcement. And that brings us to the end of the episode. We're going to take it to the outro.
The time is now. You can't see me.
I really like what we're trying to do here.
You've been listening to the Niger Which Way podcast. We're a community of Nigerians in diaspora hoping to inspire and educate people just like us. And we hope you join the conversation on Telegram, Instagram, Twitter, and of course, Clubhouse. Thank you.